More on that breaking news out of the White House. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, according to sources, is expected to depart his post after he inadvertently added a journalist to a private chat on the messaging app Signal in March. The Wall Street Journal reports that since then, quote, senior U.S. officials said Waltz has been marginalized during debates on key decisions, namely starting talks with Iran over its nuclear work and brokering a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. I want to bring in Sabrina Singh, former Deputy Press Secretary for the Department of Defense. Also here with me, former Assistant Director for Counterintelligence at the FBI and MSNBC National Security Analyst Frank Figliuzzi. Sabrina, how significant is it if you are the National Security Advisor and you've been marginalized?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're nearly past the 100-day mark of this administration. The fact that the National Security Advisor, if these reports are true, has not only been marginalized but potentially fired, it really begs the question of who is in charge of keeping America safe? And it's just part of a longer string of worrying developments that this administration has launched. You know, the purging of these career officials from the Department of Defense, Department of State, firing those people who, you know, maintain some of our nuclear sites, and now Mike Waltz. Again, this is all in the first 100 days of this administration. And I think Americans have a right to be concerned here, is if you're marginalizing the person in charge of the national security apparatus, who is the person looking out for America's safety and security? And that's deeply concerning. And so, you know, as the story develops, I know everyone's following it, but that's something that I'm certainly worried about.
So, Frank, let me ask you about what a change can mean for a country's security, especially a voice that, by all accounts, was someone who gave a challenge, who had a different view, and in a normal administration would at least have sparked some conversation.
Yeah, clearly a president has the right to surround himself with people who have a similar worldview. The problem is when they act contrary or offer some advice that the president doesn't agree with, and then they get dismissed for that. I think that's some of the backstory here. And I can tell you from a counterintelligence standpoint, concepts like instability, flux, change are not good words when you're linking them to national security. That field calls for stability, and the world is watching to see if we have our act together with regard to national security.
Just in the last hour, I spoke to Congressman Eugene Vindman, and he thinks that Mike Waltz might be just the first domino. Take a listen.
Signalgate was a major failure. I mean, really historic to have the National Security Advisor, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense involved in this kind of scandal that put American lives, certainly the mission, but American lives at risk. And so this is the start of accountability, but it's just a start. We need a full-scale investigation.
He says there have been a tremendous number of conversations just in the last 24 hours, even before this news came out, about a full-scale investigation, what might happen next. What are the questions that are still out there?
Look, whenever you have something like the Signal chat scandal, you think damage assessment. It's not just about accountability and who did what, but who exploited that. And we've yet to see any evidence of a fulsome investigation to see if our allies or adversaries were part or privy to that conversation. And farther, how much Signal chat has been used. We've seen reports that Hegseth has it on his office computer, his desktop. We've got to get to the bottom of that, and I don't see an end in sight to any investigative effort.
When you talk about, Sabrina, the possibility of this is just the first domino to fall, we've already heard, and we just played a short time ago, some of the Democrats who are saying Pete Hegseth should go as well. But conversely, could this take the pressure off of the defense secretary for his role in the Signal chats?
It certainly could. I mean, it's clear that Donald Trump likes Pete Hegseth. He is someone that continues to parrot, you know, things that Donald Trump likes to hear. But I think, as Frank was saying, and the reality is that, yes, Mike Waltz did start this Signal chat with, you know, the entire national security apparatus. But it was the defense secretary that put that classified information in there about an operation that hadn't even begun yet. into that Signal chat, and yet he's not being held accountable or being held to any types of standards. And so I think it is important, as other congressional Democrats continue to call for investigations. That's absolutely right. We need to understand why there's a personal computer set up in his office that has its own, online connection that's not attached to the securities of the Department of Defense. And we just need to understand better why they were even using Signal in the first place. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And I hope, this shouldn't be a partisan issue. This really deserves bipartisan support to look into this for the security of our country.
Frank, you've written about the security concerns that you have that were created, as you see them, by this administration. Does this